Donald Trump has doubled down on his aggressive statements in regard to the potential conflict with North Korea. In fact, he essentially said the following: "It's about time someone stood up for the people of our country." Also, he advised North Korea to, quote, "get its act together or it could be in trouble like few nations have ever been." Also asked about the possibility of a preemptive strike against North Korea, Trump declined to comment, saying, "We don't talk about it." But he does believe that maybe his comments regarding fire and fury geared toward North Korea wasn't tough enough. And what's interesting is, in the last 24 hours, there have been contradictions in statements that he's made in regard to North Korea, which is kind of scary. I don't know if he's really thinking things through, but he did make some statements on camera as well, and I wanted to share them with you. Let's go to the first video.
Number one, I would like to de-nuke the world. I know that President Obama said global warming is the biggest threat. I totally disagree. I say that it's a simple one. Nuclear is our greatest threat worldwide. Not even a question, not even close. So I'd like to de-nuke the world. I would like Russia and the United States and China and Pakistan and many other countries that have nuclear weapons, get rid of them. But until such time as they do, we will be the most powerful nuclear nation on earth by far.
So real quick, I like that he included the United States in that list of countries that he would like to de-nuke. But he said that his first order of business as president was to essentially improve our nuclear capability. So like literally in the same week, he went from one statement to something completely different.
So this is what standard politicians do, and generally unscrupulous people. They say both things so that people can take whatever they want out of it, right? So the people who love the idea of us having nukes and maybe using them go, well, Trump said he'd use the nukes. He talked about nuclear weapons and how we have now more and better nukes, right? And people who are a little concerned about that might go, no, you guys are being unfair. He also said de-nuke the world, and they don't even say also. He said de-nuke, he wants to de-nuke the world, okay? Yeah. This is otherwise known as the Sam Harris strategy, where you say both things, and so then when somebody says, well, you said you might want to use nuclear weapons, you go, how dare you say that? I also said I want to de-nuke, right? Right. And by the way, he says nuclear is our greatest threat. Well, then stop threatening it. You're the one who intimated earlier in the week that you would use nuclear weapons against North Korea. It's not like some other person's doing it and there's nothing you can do about it. You're the one making the threat.
And you're the one who said that your first order of business as president was to improve our nuclear capabilities. So, which by the way, that was a statement that he made this week. Anyway, so you're right, Cenk. I think that he's trying to tone down rhetoric, which is a good thing, and it's because he is getting some pushback from those on the right as well in regard to how he's treating this entire situation. They want him to be a little more careful, a little more calculated and measured when he's publicly making statements about his plans on retaliating against North Korea. There is a second video I want to share with you guys. Let's take a quick look at that.
He has disrespected our country greatly. He has said things that are horrific. And with me, he's not getting away with it. He got away with it for a long time between him and his family. He's not getting away with it. It's a whole new ball game. And he's not going to be saying those things, and he's certainly not going to be doing those things. I read about we're in Guam by August 15th. Let's see what he does with Guam. He does something in Guam, it will be an event the likes of which nobody's seen before. What will happen in North Korea.
Well, wait a minute, Anna, he just said he wanted to de-nuke the world, and he's, again, now going back for the at least second time in this week and saying it is going to be an event like no one has ever seen before. Earlier, he referred to fire and fury like no one has ever seen before in this world. Well, we've seen nukes, so I guess this is worse than nukes because that was just atomic bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The guy's a walking contradiction. If you think you agree with Trump, I have an important question for you. Which one?
Right, and look, to be fair to be fair to him, in that second video that we showed you, he said if they attack Guam, they will be met with, with retaliation.
Yes, no. I get it, and you're right, and you guys all saw that for yourselves. But first of all, remember he promised a fire and fury like you've never seen before the Guam threat. That's what precipitated the Guam threat from North Korea. So, and then that led to Trump making even further threats, and now you just said you want to de-nuke, and then said again things like no one's ever seen before, intimating nukes. And then, by the way, we're not just implying that. The first time he said it, the very next morning he tweeted out, talk about nuclear weapons. To make it absolutely clear, he was in fact referring to nuclear weapons.
Yes.
So there he is again referring to nuclear weapons a sentence after he says he wants to de-nuke.
Right, exactly.
And if they attack Guam, we can attack them back. We don't have to use nukes.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the reason why I bring that up is not to give him credit. Absolutely, the reason why this has escalated so quickly is because of the way he spoke about North Korea to begin with, and that led to North Korea threatening to attack US territories. So Trump is the problem here. He needs to find a way to de-escalate this situation instead of making it worse than it needs to be. But one quick comment that I want to make about public opinion. So look, I want to know what the other side thinks about this because I am curious, is it just members of the left that think that this type of rhetoric is dangerous, or are there people on the right who support it? And the reality is it's a mixed bag. So there are people on the right who think that his rhetoric is problematic. However, there are US citizens right now who are fed up with the way North Korea has been handled in the past. So they're not saying we wish there was military intervention, but they're saying, well, the presidents that preceded Donald Trump didn't do enough, right? They walked on eggshells and they didn't do enough, and why didn't they hold China's feet to the fire? And I think that that's a fair criticism, and I think that's honestly where Donald Trump should focus his energy rather than let's use our nukes.
Yeah, no, I've been saying that for the whole week. No one did enough, whether it was Obama or Bush or Clinton. Now, look, I didn't want those guys going to war either, so I know that they made some deals where at least we didn't have military conflict. And yes, the longer you delay military conflict, the longer their development of weapons can theoretically go on. So that's the downside, perfectly aware of that, right? On the other hand, the longer you delay military conflict is the longer you don't have military conflict and might be able to avoid it by other means. God knows what a coup happens in that country. I mean, the whole population is basically imprisoned by just a handful of, a dictator and a handful of his goons. So you might get a surprising result at any moment. So in that sense, give peace a chance. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take super aggressive diplomatic actions. And yes, you can have aggressive diplomatic actions by saying to China, hey, you know what? Carrots and sticks. Earlier in the week, we talked about carrots for China. How about we talk about sticks? If you don't do what we're asking you to do in terms of putting pressure on North Korea, we're gonna put pressure on you. That's it, tariffs. Oh, wow, that can start a trade war. Yes, but a trade war is potentially disastrous and I don't want one, but is better than a nuclear war. So let's use other really important, strong tools at our disposal to make sure we resolve the North Korea situation. Nobody's happy with Kim Jong Un threatening the world over and over again. But look at the wrong expectations that Trump sets. He says he won't be saying those things anymore. Well, you can't. That is a promise you couldn't possibly keep. Kim Jong Un and all of his idiot generals are filled with hubris and bombast. And for all of our lives, all these guys, including his dad and his grandfather, have been like, oh, we will destroy you. We are the greatest. You're an ant. We're a tiger. All this insane stuff. Well, now if your new threshold or line in the sand is you're not even allowed to talk, you're not allowed to say those things, well, then you're gonna guarantee conflict because that's a promise you can't keep. And finally, just before we came on air, Trump talked again about this, and every time he does, he endangers the world. He said about his tough talk and threats of nukes, etc., about North Korea, he said it's not a dare, it's a statement of fact. Oh, he's a child, man. That's the kind of thing that third graders say to one another when they're threatening each other on the schoolyard. And that's what we have. We have two man-childs here with Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un, unfortunately, they have enormous weapons at their disposal. Watch the Young Turks commercial-free, download it or stream it, watch it any way you like at tytnetwork.com/join.